Hello, and welcome to Emotional Response. This is Life Coaching with Ink Ivory. I even messed up my name this time. Ivory. Welcome again as we join in on a series on back to school, covering this first half of a 4-part series on back to school is a Dear Mommy and Dear Daddy. Part 1 and Part 2. We're covering Part 2 tonight, mainly because this is just as vital as making sure your kids have the correct uniforms, make sure they have the correct sneakers, make sure their hair is done, make sure they have all their school supplies. Emotional wellness needs to be discussed when it comes to back to school. And I'm pumped, mainly because I'm a mother myself, a mother of a 2-year-old and a 5-year-old starting kindergarten. And the 2-year-old is in daycare, but the 5-year-old, I'm all over the place emotionally and with, mainly because this is new for him, which makes it new for me as his mom and new for his dad. And to see him venture into another realm of education, he's excited. He's wanting to learn. Emotionally, he thinks about it constantly from the time he goes to sleep to the time he wakes up. And so it is with me. Throughout the day, I'm wondering what I can do better to make sure it's a smooth transition. How can I play a significant role in making this a smooth transition? And as parents, we have to be conscious of it. We have to be aware. We have to be conscious and aware of the role that we play in making it a smooth transition, whether it's from elementary to junior high, from junior high to high school, from high school to college. We play a significant part. Mainly because we are the key figures as their mother and father in how they define the world. From birth, even I would dare to say before birth, they are formed from our effort, our energy. The things we channel into the world affects them 100%. We can say verbally that they can mind their business, stay in a child's place. What goes on with adults is going on with adults only. However, at the end of the day, everything affects a child. And when you are mindful of that, you are more sensitive towards how it affects them. How your actions, how your words, how you are processing life and how it affects them. It's a domino effect. They are your seed and they learn mainly from you. Even if you don't vocalize or sit down and talk to them. And even if you do vocalize and sit down and talk to them, they mainly learn from your actions and what you do and say. And that dominates their thought process. So a lot of times, us as parents, we hold a heavy torch because of the responsibility that it is to be a parent. And a lot of times people will say kids are not expensive. But I would dare to say that kids are more expensive than anything else we can have in our possession in life. And I'm not talking from a financial aspect. I'm talking from time, emotion, mental. Kids are taxing. And taxing meaning they require a lot. You have to be emotionally connected to them, mentally connected to them. You have to be able to dialogue with them. You have to be able to dwell with them with understanding. And so that's expensive. It's expensive. A lot of times when you see certain things in your window shopping, you be like, I can't afford that. That's beyond my means. And beyond your means mean you can go in the store and you might be able to purchase it, but the rippling effect of what it affects in order for you to afford that. So you might break your pockets but not be able to pay rent or your car note or go out as often. Do trips spontaneously. And so it costs in that matter. And if we walk around with that mindset, we be more conscious of our decisions. Because so it is with a child. A child is very costing. Costly, costing. However you want to coin the word. They come with a price. And the sacrifices, you might not be able to go out all the time. You might not be able to buy this, that, and the third. You might not be able to meet this financial expense. And when you keep that in consideration, you're mindful of how many kids you have and how spaced out your kids are. And even when you strategically plan for kids, it's still unforeseen charges that happen. Because you can't predict how that child is born, their predisposition that they might have through genetics, not just your genetics, your grandparents, your grandfathers. And I'm not going to dive too deep in that, but I just want you to think really about the cost of having a kid. Not just in 2018, just period, in general. Not in a financial aspect. That kid is modeling how the world is to interpret based on how you interpret it. They modeling it. So if you're not brazen the way for them to go, trust and believe they'll find a way. And even taking that passive realm, that's an expense that you will have to own up to eventually. So be vocal, be engaged, be involved. So as I'm covering this Dear Mommy, Dear Daddy, part 2, I want to go into 2 major, I'm talking about major, regardless of what age your kid is, 2 major aspects to consider for the school year. 1, affirmation, and 2, touch. I had to do a moment of 5-second silence because I wanted you to hear the weight of those 2 things. 1, affirmation, and 2, touch. You have to be able to whether you feel like it or not, be your kid's coach, cheerleader, advocate, believer, even when they're not to themselves. When they are to themselves, it's icing on the cake that you are. When they're not to themselves, it helps them come out of the realm of doubt and wonder. It helps them to believe again. Because if mommy or daddy or my guardian believes in me, I could begin to believe in me. And so affirmation is so important. Telling your kid you miss them, you value them, you love them, you see their smartness. Even if your kid has unruly behavior, highlighting the good points is always necessary. And I would dare to say it's way more important than highlighting the bad. Because if you focus on the good, it might encourage them to want to do even more good. Now, it's a roll of the dice with that because they are under free will and they have the free choice to either take that and run with it or take it and throw it to the side. But you need to take the initiative to always build your child up. Even when it comes to chastisement, it's a system of breaking down to build up and learning it through learning your kid's personality. Each child is different, so the system might look different depending on the child. There's no cookie cut way because every child is born with different personality, a different set of skin, a different set of eyes. Every child is wired differently, and you can be under the same household and still interpret life different, still feel things differently. And so that's where understanding comes in, because as you understand each child, you know how to affirm them and what words work for what child. Tend to them accordingly. Tend to them as if they are a fragile egg, but tough enough to be a wolf out in the wild. Tend to them as such. Build them up because you know they're capable of conquering anything that is set before them when it comes to their education. But then tend to them as fragile as an egg, knowing that they can break at the drop of one harsh word. And prepare yourself. This school year is coming. There are going to be times when you're going over homework or they're not getting it. That don't mean you take the platform of calling them stupid, dumb, idiot. You're just like your father. You're just like your mother. Those words are unnecessary and uncalled for. And one thing about words, it's like toothpaste. Once it's out, you cannot stuff them back in. Just think about that. When you squeeze on toothpaste, there's no way, shape, or form you could push that toothpaste back in. You had to be working at it. There's always somebody that's listening that, well, I could do it. You have to be that sensitive to know what to say and control your emotions. Just because you get frustrated, you might need a 5-second breather, a 30-second breather,